She is a three-time WNBA champion, an 11-time All-Star, four-time Olympic gold medalist, two-time NCAA champion at UConn. The list goes on and on and on. She is, of course, Sue Bird, and she is kind enough to join us now from Connecticut, where she has come back to spend some time after living in Seattle. Sue, Jimmy Roberts, just down the road from you. Thanks for taking some time to join us. How are you today?
Thanks for having me. Doing well. You know, I'm one of the lucky ones. Friends and family are all healthy and safe. So it's just about staying inside and I guess trying to keep myself busy.
So Seattle, where you live full-time, was one of the original hotspots in the United States for the pandemic. Can you give us a sense of what it was like when this first started to happen there? What was the reaction kind of overall?
Yeah, I mean, I was in Seattle most of the end of February and then a little bit into early March. And that was when, the first case had already been, talked about, but that was when they started to realize there was community spread happening. And that's when that care center in Kirkland, Washington got hit. And that's when it really was on people's radars hard. And that's when you would go to the grocery store and there'd be no toilet paper. And all the Lysol wipes were out. And you just started to feel in the city that it was starting to get serious and people were starting to taking it seriously. And for me, what was interesting was experiencing that and then flying from Seattle to the East Coast. And the minute I landed, I could just tell people didn't quite understand. It was kind of like, oh, this thing that's happening on the other side of the country. And, in my experience, just from being in Seattle and kind of reading about it and staying, keeping my eye on it, I realized like, oh no, it's coming here. And I was actually warning my friends. They were jokingly calling me Paul Revere because I was literally like, no, you guys don't get it. It's coming. So that was like a really unique experience for me.
So tell me, what do you hear from your friends back in Seattle as this has started, I should say, to worsen all over the country, but specifically in the Northeast where you've come back to?
Yeah, I think, it's actually very similar, it seems. At this point, I think most states, especially, Connecticut being so close to New York City, Seattle, because it's really where it started, so to speak. I think now we're both at a place where it's like, stay at home, only leave if you absolutely have to, don't go visit your grandma. Parks have all been closed. So yeah, get outside, but make sure you keep your distance. Whereas I think, probably 3-4 weeks ago, Seattle was already doing those things and we weren't quite there yet here. So I think Seattle now is probably on the other side in terms of, I don't know if they've hit their peak or whatnot, but I think people have really embraced these new rules and are just following them. I talked to one of my teammates is there now, Brianna Stewart, and she basically said, she's like, yeah, I stay home. If I go out, it's to like a remote place to walk my dog. And then that's life. And that's very similar to what I'm doing, minus the dog.
It is the new normal. You talk about parks being closed in the town where I live. They actually have taken the basketball hoops off of the backboards so people won't be tempted. Let's turn to basketball just for a moment. You missed the entirety of last season, had knee surgery. The start of the WNBA season, like many other sporting events, has been delayed. Where are you physically right now?
Physically, I actually feel great. Like you said, I had that surgery that kept me out all summer. But with that, I had time to come back and we were actually, our national team, USA Basketball, had been doing training camps this whole fall, this whole winter, gearing up for the 2020 Olympics. So I was in full go mode, if you will, 100% healthy, had totally recovered, obviously only to have this happen. So now all I'm trying to do is, work out when I can, how I can, stay in shape the best way I can, try to get a basketball in my hands every now and then, knowing that, the WNBA might happen. Who knows, right? July, August, who knows? And what it would look like, nobody knows. But just trying to stay like semi in shape for that, but not stressing myself out. And obviously the Olympics were postponed, so that's kind of on the back burner for now. But again, trying to find that balance between being active, but I'm not trying to stress myself out. Like these times are stressful enough.
Amen to that. They certainly are. You mentioned USA basketball and the Olympic Games obviously having been postponed. You were on pace to become the first person to compete actually for a fifth gold medal in basketball. No man or woman had ever done that. Was that a goal specifically that mattered to you, or did you just want to play ball?
It's a combination. I think where I stand now, I'm 39, sadly, kind of, tongue in cheek, I say that I'll be 40 at this next Olympics, which, I liked being 39. I don't know about 40, but anyways, I think there's something to playing this long. Clearly I still enjoy it. The fact that I'm able to do it physically, it motivates me in this different way. I like being an older player, and I like being somebody that kids can look up to, like, oh, you can play that long. I joke that 40 is the new 30 in our world today with players like, Tom Brady, LeBron James, you name it. So there's this part where it's like, I just want to play, and I know I can't play forever. So if I can still do it, I'm going to do it as long as I can. But I think as you get older in your career, you do start to think about legacy in these different ways. And being a 5-time Olympian, but to your point, being a 5-time gold medalist, that would have put myself, Diana Taurasi is actually someone else who would have been in that boat. That would have put us in an elite conversation. So, like I said, it kind of goes both ways. It's like both things are occurring at the same time.
It's the age-old dilemma. Which is worth more, the experience or the youth? The older you get, the harder it becomes physically, but the more experience you have. Which is worth more on the basketball court, do you think?
Great question. I totally agree. And what I found for myself is that the experience is worth way more. But that's because of the style that I play. I was never like the biggest or the strongest I was like kind of fast, but I was never the fastest per se. So I never relied on those things. So even though, of course, at 39, I'm not nearly as athletic as I was at like even 29. So that's taken a turn, but because I never relied on those things, I can still keep up. It's not hurting my game, but my experience and like my knowledge has now gone through the roof. I'm the oldest player in the league, so just by definition, I'm the most experienced. And that's where I can really impact a game, almost dominate a game, like just with my, my smarts. So for me, that's worth way more. For another player, it might be different.
So you're a point guard, and the most important thing for a point guard is to be able to see the court. Has the game slowed down for you over the years because of your experience?
Oh, 100%. 100%. It's just like anything. The more you're exposed to it, you can you can almost predict what's going to happen. And so when you're out there playing and you see a play unfolding, you've seen this play 1,000 times, and there's only like so many results to it, right? So you can kind of pick and choose and guess what's going to happen, and that can lead to good things. So that's kind of how I see it. I've just seen so much, I kind of know how it's all going to end.
What is it that Wayne Gretzky once said? You don't skate to where the puck is now, you skate to where the puck is going to be, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk for a moment about the Olympics. I am always fascinated when I talk to Olympic athletes because the gold medal is such a rare award, and it's something that in society we look at with such awe. And I ask this of every gold medalist that I ever speak to. Where are your gold medals? What do you do with them? Are they in a sock drawer, or are they above the fireplace?
They're not above the fireplace. They actually take turns between, I used to have them in a safety deposit box for a long time. And then I found that whenever I needed them, I couldn't get them fast enough. So then I had them out for a while in, just like you said, a sock drawer. I know it seems so cliche, but it's actually true. But now they're back in a safety deposit box for now.
That first one from Athens, that must have felt pretty special.
Yeah, it did. Actually, a quick story. This story I think kind of embodies what my experience was, but also it kind of showed me what it meant to be a gold medalist. And, to your point, it's something you look at as kind of like the end all be all. It's like gold medals, not many people have them. And I was flying back from Athens. And at one point, on the commercial flight to Seattle, I think I was flying from LA actually. LA to Seattle is my connection. And I only say this to say, on the flight attendant came up to me and was like, "Are you Sue Bird? Like, did you just come from the Olympics?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then she leaned in, she was like, "Do you have your gold medal?" And I was like, "Yeah," because obviously you can't check a gold medal, So she's like, "Oh, can I see it?" And then it was, "Oh, the pilots would like to see it." So before I knew it, the gold medal had made its rounds throughout like the entire plane. People just wanted to see it. They wanted to touch it. And even though I knew being an Olympian was a big deal, obviously, that was the moment where I was like, whoa, this is like way bigger than sports, way bigger than anything. People just wanted to literally touch the gold medal. It meant something. So that kind of hit home for me, and I've always carried that with me.
Gold medals are pretty special things, as I said. I can't even imagine what the trophy case in your house looks like between you and Megan. But that would be what, 5 gold medals, a couple of World Cups, just, is there a trophy case?
No trophy case. We have the memories.
Yeah, those are the most important things. Let's move on to coaching. This past week, Tamara Moore was hired as the head coach of a men's junior college program in Minnesota. There certainly is precedent for that type of thing, but not on a widespread level. You've had an association with the Denver Nuggets, Becky Hammon with the Spurs. Is that something that would appeal to you one of these days?
Yeah, I think, me being a point guard and kind of being more of a cerebral player, I think that lends to coaching. I feel like in my latter years, I've kind of helped coach the team, not like the way a head coach would, but I definitely can give my teammates tidbits and help them with certain aspects of the game. So it definitely feels natural to step into a coaching role. I always joke that, I totally realize that being a coach is a life. And sometimes the part that scares me is I've already kind of like lived this life of traveling and constantly being on the road. Do I want to live that same life? That would be the deterrent, if any. But I don't know, to your point, there's a lot of women who are coaching in men's basketball now, obviously in women's basketball. And the way I see it is the WNBA is, I think, 24 or 5 years old. And so now you have these women who have had like full professional careers, who've played overseas in the WNBA for a variety of coaches. And there's just this like untapped, group of people, women, that have just like so much experience and can help in those coaching ranks. So now you're starting to see them get the jobs because their playing careers are finally done. I mean, Christy Tolliver, Kara Lawson, the list goes on. So it's pretty cool to see how all of us players who now have finished our careers are now getting into coaching. And like I said, we just have so much to give.
How are you received by men basketball players? I mean, we went over this at the top of this interview. Your credentials, they're pretty much incomparable. Do you think you could be the head coach of a men's team? I'm sure you feel like you could be the head coach of a men's team. Do you think it would work?
I do. In my experience, whether it's something that an NBA player tweets, or when I'm at an NBA game, the memories that are coming to mind, or when I was with the Denver Nuggets, a lot of times you're on the floor pre-game, so you have both teams warming up, a situation like that. A lot of guys, whether I knew them before or not, will just come over and say what's up and be like, "Hey, watched you play this summer, love your game," or "Oh my God, I grew up watching you." I don't know how I feel about that one, to be honest, but it's okay. But anyway, my point being, the interesting part about male professional basketball players, really men's basketball at any level, is because they play, at a very high level. I think when they look at us, the casual fan, I'm trying to be nice here, they like to judge women's basketball on the fact that we don't dunk. They don't dunk, they don't do this, they don't do that. Actual basketball players, in this case we're talking about men, they're not thinking about that. They see that we play the game. They see how smart we are. They see the skill sets we have. They know how difficult it is. They know the grind that we put in. It's the same as them. And so I think the respect there is legit. It's not, you know, a lot of people will will think those NBA players are paid to say that nice stuff about us on TV. They're not. It's real, because they just understand we're basketball players and they can see the value there. So I think for a woman, myself, like you said, if I were to be a head coach, that respect would be there right out the gate. You'd probably have to earn respect in all the other ways that head coaches do, which is fine. That's the job. But it would not be a problem.
And I would imagine there is especially respect for a point guard, because that is a skill that there's much appreciation for, no matter what position you play in the game. Now, my son is out in the driveway right now, and he's taking shots. And when I go out there and I watch him, he's saying, this is Steph Curry, or this is, who knows, maybe Sue Bird, because he's a point guard. You grew up in Long Island. You wore number 10. When you were growing up, who did you want to be, or who did you want to model your game after?
Yeah, so this is actually funny because clearly it didn't pan out, but I loved Kenny Skywalker. Like, that was by far my favorite player on the Knicks. Grew up a Knicks fan. I remember one of my very first games was probably like, I was 6 years old, so it's like 86, right around when Michael Jordan had just come into the league and the Bulls were playing the Knicks. And that's like my first basketball memory, was watching those guys warm up. And then you go through those years, and you got John Starks, Patrick Ewing, Charles Smith, Charles Oakley, you name it. Kenny Skywalker was my guy. I loved watching him. So clearly that didn't work out. I don't have the flat top. I definitely can't dunk. So as I got older, like high school age, I became a huge Mike Bibby fan. And that's actually, it just kind of worked out that way, because we're very similar. A scoring point guard. He actually wears number 10 as well. Just someone who facilitates for his teammates, but also can hit a big shot. And as it turns out, like, we're very similar. So that was my favorite player come like my high school days.
Well, there you have it. Probably the first time in a long time on this network or any other where you've heard mentions of Kenny Skywalker and Mike Bibby. Sue Bird, it's such a pleasure to talk with you. Please stay well, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, same to you. Thanks for having me.